Yep.
Make sure it'll start here. Hopefully. Oh, very good. Just waiting for it to pop up. There we all are. Welcome in, one and all. Welcome to Podcast Now. I guess that's the host channel. Welcome to everybody I have here. Now, this is an amazing group. I can't do them justice, by introducing them. So they're going to introduce themselves, starting just in the order of our screen. But as you know, or maybe you don't know, I don't show my face too often. I am Alex from Podcast Now, and we're just going to go, down the list. Ryan, you want to start it off?
Sure. So, hi everybody. I'm Ryan Showers. I'm the host of Scream with Ryan C. Showers, the podcast. So I'm happy to be here talking about Scream, and we have less than a month, baby. Like it's been a long 11 years. So, thank you for having me.
No problem.
And everyone, my name is Michael Monroe. I am the guy behind the Twitter account Scream Obsessed, and I'm just ecstatic to be a part of what I hope to be is going to be a killer conversation.
Absolutely. I'm Fate Decided. My real name's Tyler. I'm sure many of you know by now, but yeah, I'm really excited about this collaboration. It's awesome to see a group of like-minded people in different spaces, Twitter, podcasts, YouTube, all that stuff to come together and, have a conversation like this. It's exciting. It really is.
Nice. Hey guys, this is Steven from Craving Something Scary, and I am just pumped about tonight. I've been really looking forward to hanging out with all of you guys and talking my favorite film franchise. And it's just going to be a blast. So, Alex, thanks for the invitation, man. Really, really glad to be here.
Thank you all.
Hey, guys. I'm Knight from the Night Watch Zone. And yeah, I'm also very excited to be here to talk about Scream. Very cool to meet so many other creators from different platforms. So I really appreciate it. And yeah, thank you as well, Alex. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Howdy, howdy. I am Killjoy Jake. My real name is Alfred, and super excited about talking Scream, man. Thank you so much for having me, dude.
Anytime. Well, thank you all so much for being here, and I think we have an all-star cast. And, we were saying this off camera, technically on camera, but before we did this, that this really encompasses, we don't have everybody. Now, I did send more invitations out. We won't get into it, but this really, I think, captures a good amount of the internet in terms of podcasting. We got a great podcaster here. We got the person who runs Twitter, pretty much, right, for Scream, and then we have the YouTube crowd. So I really think we have everything covered, right? No TikTokers or anything like that, but that new girl that popped up, I didn't get her, but no, I honestly think we have an amazing group and a group that's very passionate, right? Just like kind of all of us are. And I don't know if you guys want to just talk about your love for Scream, what you guys are thinking for Scream 5. I mean, this is pretty much open. I do want to take, if there's any comments or questions that kind of jump out to us, we can definitely, and I love interacting. I think a lot of us love to interact with the people. So, and I do it just in normal live streams as well. So I don't want to leave anybody out in the comments. So we'll definitely be checking. You guys can leave the comments, but until something jumps out, you guys are free to go. Anybody have anything they want to say about anybody buy their tickets, I guess?
Yeah.
Yes.
I'll say I didn't. I didn't because it's not a theater that I go to yet. And until that happens, I'm not going to do it. That may be controversial. I don't know.
Well, so actually, can we go around and say where everyone is from? Because I think that also informs. So
do a deep dive.
So I'm from central Pennsylvania. So I don't know if you guys know Penn State, but that's like the very middle of the state. It's a small college town. So we won't sell out of Scream. We have 600 seats in the Big D theater for the AMC. But I still got my ticket anyways for Thursday night at 7:00. So
very good.
Nice.
Well, and I'm from Nevada. Oh, sorry.
No, you're totally fine. So I am from Haltom City, Texas. I don't know a whole lot about it, except that it's pretty huge because I just moved here just a couple months ago. I moved from Athens, Georgia, which is more kind of a laid-back country scenery, back roads. They have higher speed limits than Texas, but we'll get into that a different day. Yeah, that's basically it. I mean, the scenery is beautiful here in Texas, but I don't know anything about it except just a lot of big buildings that I'm not familiar with.
Yeah, I'm from Nevada. I was originally born and raised in California, LA area, and was like, I'm going to be an adult one day and move to Nevada, and I did. So here we are, living the life.
I'm from Texas as well, native Texan, Houston area. So yeah, lots of concrete,
that's
lots
what's
of
up.
yeah, man, absolutely representing lots of buildings and concrete. So if you like that, this is the place.
I am up in Maine, right close to Boston, and it is cold up here, guys. So I just want to throw that out there. But yeah, I deal with it.
I am from the very gloomy city of Cleveland, Ohio, and it's fine here. There's nothing to do in Cleveland, Ohio.
So, well, I guess in terms of Scream itself, the movie. Now, I know Ryan. I think your main thing with like a thing you do on your podcast, right, is also talk about how they got into it. I'm not going to copy yours. If you guys want to do that, you can totally do it. But if we want, go ahead. No, go ahead.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do the Scream
Go ahead.
story.
And when you're doing it, I also want you to add on something you're very excited for the new Scream movie. And maybe even something I like controversy. I like negativity sometimes. Okay, it's not a bad thing. I also want maybe one of your worries for the movie. Okay, so go on.
Okay, well, I'll start with my Scream story. I mean, Scream has been such a pillar of my life. Like, I mean, I grew up in a small town, like Cleveland, Ohio. So there wasn't a lot to do. So watching Scream, the original trilogy was something we did, my sister and I, every weekend. Especially in the winter months, whenever it was cold outside and stuff. So it's always been there for me in a weird way, and it's really formed the way I see the world in a lot of ways, and the way I became a feminist with Sydney and Gail. And I absolutely, it's so close to my heart, and I love Scream 3. That's a huge part of me as a Scream fan. I love Sydney's storyline in Scream 3. I think Neve Campbell, it's just an incredible performance that she gives, and the way that Sydney's story is wrapped up with her arc. And in terms of Scream, the new Scream movie, I just really want there to be, I want the trio to have the screen time that they deserve. I'm not expecting this to be another Scream 4 where they are the leads, if that makes sense. I understand we have to move on with the times, but I do want Sydney and Gail to have similar screen times to what, Laurie Strode would have had in Halloween 2018. So, and my biggest fear is that they won't, like, the whole hour will go by and Sydney and Gail won't show up until the end. So.
Very good.
So, as for me, what really got me started into Scream was my family let me watch horror movies very young, and it started from Halloween and then right into Scream. So around like 7 or 8, I had to experience probably like one of the most gut-wrenching scenes for me was whenever Dewey had got stabbed in the studio. And I took that to heart at a very, very young age. And then as I got older, I started to rewatch the original trilogy before Scream 4 came out. And that was just a phenomenal journey for me. And I just attached myself to it so much. And then also just really realizing myself, like, as a gay man, I just resonated with Sydney's character for some reason. I feel like that in a way, like, we all related because, like, we're a survivor in our own way. And just to go with what Ryan said about Scream 3, Scream 3 is such a phenomenal film. And like I was telling them right before we went live, I will fight somebody at 7 a.m. with my full chest over Scream 3 because, I mean, yes, the comedy is a little out of whack, but if you knew the drama behind the scenes, just take everything into consideration, you'll have what I would believe is a different standpoint on that.
Mm-hmm.
And so, as far as jumping into what I'm excited most about the new film is honestly, like, the new cast. Like, I think that we have a phenomenal killer new cast. They are very talented, and the energy, like, it. Not saying that Scream 4's, cast was terrible or anything, but like there's just like a different vibe entirely just with the new Scream film coming out. And I really think that they got what it takes. I'm excited to see like what they're going to bring to the table. And as far as my worries, I really don't think that I have any worries with it. I've been completely satisfied with everything start to finish. I mean, if I had to pick a worry, I think it would be I'd like to see the trio, have a good bit, but like a reasonable amount of screen time. But I don't want it to be like, just towards the end of the film, like Ryan had said as well. I don't know. Like I feel like that it should be kind of like just spaced out throughout the entire film. I would be fine with that, but that's just me. personally.
Yeah, so I was always, the first time I saw it, I was probably like 7, 8. It wasn't like right when it came out. It was like a year or two later. And I've just always been just captivated by the realism of Scream. I mean, of course, there's unrealistic moments, but for the most part, it's very rooted in and we see it all the time on the news. You know, it's stuff that like you flip on the news and you see, maybe not with a knife, but it's still the same idea, same concept. And you know, it's not some supernatural force that you have to figure out. It's literally like just a group of friends that are like, hey, let's just see what people's insides look like, you know, like let's figure it out. And so that's always been my sort of draw to the franchise. And just I mean, the first Scream was just, I mean, iconic. I mean, it changed the way we looked at horror in general, and that whodunit aspect, and just the engaging aspects of the film. Like it's just this roller coaster ride that you're constantly, all the red herrings, all the misdirections, and it's something that they're really hitting home on this film. I mean, they are just killing it with the marketing and just everything, and just, you know, every time we get something new, like the previous thing is completely null and void, and you're like, what is going on? As far as like the Scream 5 itself, I really want quality character development, because as much as I die hard for the franchise, but if we're being honest, the character development I felt has lacked over time. Like the thing that made Scream so iconic is like we really connected to all the characters. It wasn't just the OG3, it was all of them. And, you know, of course, there's always a character in each film that, you know, we relate to or we connect to or something like that. But as a whole, if that makes sense, like the group of characters it hasn't been as well developed in many ways, many aspects. And so I really want them to focus on that, especially if this is it for the OG3. Like if this is their final film, however they go out, then we need some solid characters, at least the 3 or 4 that are going to survive, right? Take your pick. You know, outside of those, we really need some solid development to kind of carry the franchise forward. And then my biggest fear is that if Sam really is the final girl, her just not really hitting home, because then we're in a really bad spot for the franchise if Sydney's not returning. Because now you have a lackluster, you know, figure of the franchise going forward. That's just not, you know, it's just not what we need. But I have a ton of optimism for this film, and I think in hindsight, looking back, it'll be that film that we're just like 1A, 1B, if that makes sense, you know. But yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I'm gonna show my age then. Okay, all right, I'm gonna put it out there. I don't care. I'm gonna tell you what happened. I'll never forget this. January 1997. I'm driving home from work to stop at my local Tinseltown theater to watch this movie, Scream, because it's a Wes Craven movie. I'm like, whoa, okay, I got to check this out. So I go into the movie literally pretty much blind. Okay, I have no expectations other than I expect it to be good because Wes is involved, but I really didn't watch the trailers much or anything like that. So I go in pretty much blind. And as this movie unfolds on the big screen, Scream 96, we're talking about, it was one after another, a moment of just blowing me away, pulling me into these characters, as Fate was talking about. And I was loving these people. I cared about what happened to them. By the end of the movie, I was invested completely in all of them, even in Billy and Stu. I mean, Stu to this day remains one of my most favorite characters. And I left that theater walking to the park. I still remember that night. I walked out there to my car and I said, this was a mind-blowing moment. This was an impactful moment. Very few movies have had that effect on me. And when I drove home, I said, I have got to tell every person I work with, every family member I have who is of legal age, and you have got to watch this movie. And when Blockbuster, you know, Bulletin guys, there was a store called Blockbuster a long time ago. You rented these VHS cassette tapes. And when Blockbuster, when it came out for rent, I never will forget, I had a family party at my sister's, probably 10 of us over there, all family members. We all came together. I said, guy, none of them had seen it. Couldn't get them to go to the theater. So I said, you have to watch this opening day. It came out on Tuesday. We took it that night. And I watched, and what you ought to enjoy, not only watching it again, but watching their reactions. And to this day, every chance I get to someone who's never seen it, to bring them into the house and say, hey, I want to show you a movie, and watch their reaction, how much it blows them away as well. So that's my origin story. Ever since then, it's been my franchise. It is my franchise, and I don't think anything will ever supplant it. So as far as what I look forward to most, seeing Sydney kick tail, man. I'm ready. It's been a long time. Let's go. And these featurettes with her going up the stairs with her gun pull, man, she's gonna take names and just tear it up. So I am ready for that. My biggest fear, though, is that we will not have all OG3 survive. And I got to tell you, they are setting it up in the marketing so plainly that we're going to lose one of them. Sure looks like Dewey right now. But wherever you come on that side of it, I fear we're not going to see them all make it. I think we're going to lose one. Some say even two, maybe. I think the radio silence won't do two in the same movie the first time. But that's my biggest fear. I want to see them all make it. I don't want to see them die. You don't have to kill them to move on. They can go on with their lives. So that's where I stand on it.
Nice. Yeah, I've been a lifelong horror fan, and growing up in the 80s, I was a big fan of Friday the 13th and Halloween, Nightmare on Elm Street. Huge Wes Craven fan. And when Scream came out, I remember just this mystery around it, and I'll never forget watching it. And at that point in horror, we really took a dip. We started to get into things that were kind of a little bit of horror elements, but more like psychological or thriller. And this was like getting right back into some good old horror, some slasher horror, stabbing, blood, all that type of stuff. And when I watched it, I was just so amazed at how good it was. And it really brought me back. And obviously it changed the genre. So from that point on, I was just like, wow, this is so special. And I was at a certain age where I could understand, the ins and outs of it. So it's just become one of those franchises that I've just absolutely loved. And the thing I'm really excited about is seeing the OG3 coming back all these years. And I've been fortunate enough to do some deep dives into each film. And every time they were able to evolve their characters, if you think about their character arcs, like you don't see that in horror franchises with 3 characters. Sometimes you don't even see that in one, you know what I'm saying? Over the course of 4 films going into a 5th one. So I'm really excited to see them. And I agree with what some of you guys have said. My biggest fear is how it may end either for all 3 or one of them or 2 of them. And part of that obviously is nostalgia, and part of it is because I love the franchise and I love the dynamics of it, and I loved Wes Craven, but I really love these 3 characters so much. But I know that we do have to move on, and I just hope that it's done in a way that I can deal with. We'll have to see.
Yeah,
true.
I have an interesting Scream story. I watched a movie called, like when I was really young, I was like maybe 9 or 10 years old. I watched this film called Eight-Legged Freaks with David Arquette. I don't know have you guys ever seen that? Or
Oh yeah.
So I saw that movie and it scared me to death as a kid. Like I was horrified of that movie. Like spiders still kind of make me like just because of that movie. And I was looking for other movies with David Arquette. I'm like, I love this guy from this movie, or I don't even know. My child brain was all excited about this dude from a spider movie. And I see Scream 4 on my parents' movie shelf. And I watched that and I'm like, this is so good. Oh my God, like I have to see the rest of them. So oddly, Scream 4 was the first movie I watched, which is arguably one of the worst from the franchise. I go back and I watch all of them and I fell in love. Like they're some of my favorite horror movies. And now we have a new one coming out in less than a month. Like it's so exciting. But the thing I'm most concerned about with the new film is I really don't want them to do the same exact thing, like the same formula as all of the other movies. I would like that. Something I've been talking about in some of my like update videos is I've been saying, I just hope they deviate from the formula just a tiny bit, just a smidge, not to make it so different from the other films to the point where it's not even a Scream movie anymore, just to do something to give it a breath of fresh air, like to just really reinvent itself with a whole new take on the franchise. Just like, and what I mean by that is like, instead of having someone die in the opening kill, for example. Maybe Jenna Ortega survives. That's been something that's been theorized. That would be cool to do something different like that. Something that we were just talking about on our live stream was, what if they do a cliffhanger ending where it's like, oh, there's been this mastermind killer or something the whole time, where that we didn't know about, and it leads into Scream 6. Like, that would be kind of cool. I hope they do something different to make this one really stand out. I have a lot of faith in Radio Silence. They're some of my favorite modern horror directors. If you guys have ever seen like their skit in VHS, Devil's Due. I'm trying to think just some other movies they've done just off the top of my head. Ready or Not. Yeah, that's a great movie. I'm very excited for this film overall, though, and I think they're going to do something just like a little bit to tweak it for sure. I mean, we're already kind of seeing like a difference in tone, a difference in like just how brutal this movie is going to be just from some of the shots of Ghostface. Dewey looks like he's going to be like this super awesome action hero kind of character instead of where he started from, where he was a little more like goofy at first. So I'm excited to see what they do with this movie, man. It's coming real soon, so super pumped.
Jake, can I? I mean, I would be so like, I agree with what you said. Like, I do think mixing up the formula is a good idea, but I am absolutely 1000% opposed to a cliffhanger ending, because what happens if this, what if it's the worst case scenario and this movie performs just like Scream 4 did and it doesn't make the money, and this is the last thing we are left with? Like, I will be devastated as a fan. And especially, what if like Courtney and Nev don't want to come back for Scream 6 and we have a cliffhanger ending? Like, I just feel like it's such a recipe for disaster. I feel like they need to wrap up and leave things in a place where it can be left or it can be built upon.
Yeah. I like cliffhangers, but yeah, you do run into that issue. Pirates, my favorite franchise, has that issue right now. 4 left it open, but not 5 didn't leave it open, and then now obviously all the stuff that's happened now. You screw Jack Sparrow out of all this. So, yeah, that's a tough one. Now, one thing I want to focus on is by the way, thank you to everybody watching, everybody here, and I'm sure this will do well afterwards, too, as a video. One of the main things that people are talking about, one comment that was talking about the box office. I do want to get your thoughts on maybe just a simple, does it do well enough to greenlight, a 6 or not? And then also, what's your number one suspect for, I guess you could do 2 if you think there's 2 killers. So maybe we'll just do that: box office, success or failure, maybe if it depends on anything, and who do you suspect the most?
Well, so I think the safe prediction for a box office is for Scream to mirror what Candyman did this year, like a 20 million opening and maybe 60 overall. I think that's like a safe pick. I think I'm going to say 30 million opening, 70 gross overall. And I'll abstain from the killer talk.
Okay. I will accept.
So for my expectations for the box office, I obviously I want it to do astronomically well, because I do expect it to get greenlit. I think with how much effort they put in the marketing, and just for example, Scream 4's marketing can never touch what's going on right now. And I really do feel like that it is hitting the intended audiences. And I just hope that if it does get greenlit, that they keep this formula and probably, up it up about maybe 20 more percent. I'm fine with it. I think the only thing that I could probably complain about is they left us on Ghost for months, and then just like a couple months right beforehand, then just start like throwing things out there, which is great. I know that we want to keep it, don't want to just give everything away, but I feel like that there was other ways that could have promoted it per se. But as far as like doing well at the box office, I 110% believe that it's going to do fantastic, and we will get another one. And as far as the other question, honestly, I cannot remember. I think we were talking about who you
expect the suspect.
I might get some hate for this one, but I really think that Jack Quaid is one of the killers. I honest to God think so. And clock me for this, but that one photo that they posted of him where he's like gasping, y'all can't tell me that that's the fakest gasp I've ever seen. But then again, I want to sit there and think that maybe it's just because of the fact of, oh, well, they said that they've recorded, additional footage that, threw people off or whatnot, and that could just been one of the shots. So there's that possibility, but like that right there is just, I don't know, a dead ringer for me. That's something I'm gonna keep my eye on.
So, well, first off, real quick, I to touch on the cliffhanger thing, because I do agree with both points, but I think also it depends on how it's about. Like when we think of cliffhanger, we think like an inconclusive ending. Like I feel like you could still have an a conclusive ending, sorry, and still have an element that is left over for the next one. I mean, think about technically we've always had a cliffhanger in Scream, because at the end of the films you get the quick flash of Ghostface, and that is alluding to the next installment there being a killer. So what's the difference between that and maybe just a quick scene where like a ghost face is standing in the distance or something? You get what I'm saying? Where
another thing, Tyler, I was gonna say is that I have faith in the fans of this franchise that if there is a cliffhanger ending, like there's going to be plenty of people that come to this movie. Like I think that this is going to be one of the most successful Scream movies like to date, ever. Like of all the sequels, at least I think. Just because like look at the hype on the internet right now. It's overwhelming. Insane. I mean, I
agree.
We didn't get it was not even close to this for the new Halloween film, and it's crazy. I think this movie's going to do really well, considering a January release.
Yeah,
well,
and
I just ask like everybody something, like because this is something I'm always conscious about. Like we are in a bubble. We are in the Scream bubble. Like, does the hype exist outside of the Scream bubble? Does the marketing translate to people, normal mainstream people? Like that's where the success will rise or fall.
I think so. I think so because yes, we have a script, but you're going to have newer audiences. And then if this movie is good, like if it's an actual great film, now you have the buzz and conversation getting out to that outside that. If this movie's terrible, then you're right. If this, like, let's say this, it's like
or just lackluster, even just lackluster.
Like us as a fandom, we're like, you know what, like this wasn't it. Then I think it's very likely we run the risk of that not happening. But I just think given this buzz, I think there's just so much excitement, nostalgia, just everything. And just the passion. I mean, besides the marketing, because phenomenal, but like just the passion that's going around with even the actors and actresses. Like look at the interviews and go look at interviews in Scream 4. They're night and day. Like, it's still the same sort of generic answers, but there's genuine excitement. The things that they're elaborating on, they weren't elaborating on those things. Like, it's just, I really think that there's something here with that. Now, future installments will like Scream 6 have that same sort of hype, then that I think is a real question. But this Scream 5, I really think, and I've said this countless times, I would not be surprised if it gets somewhere around 300 million worldwide when it's all said and done. Because I mean, the UK made like just as much as the United States on Scream 4. So that's probably going to be similar. I think there's more excitement than Scream 4 ever had. We're in this sort of like horror bubble period with like all of these trilogies, all of these remakes, all of this. So I think that's going to play a role. You're going to have curiosity. You're going to have a lot of things. So I really think we could get a $30 to $40 million opening weekend. And then that just kind of continues and to some degree, give or take. I mean, I think honestly, lowball, when all is said and done, I really wouldn't be surprised if bare minimum we make 150 million plus. Plus, you got to keep in mind about a Scream 6 that I think is important. You got to remember, these people paid God knows how much for the rights. I mean, they probably paid $100 million for the rights. And then they're in this like 50 minutes. So they're probably all in right now at 150 million. Even if this movie is just halfway decent, they'll probably make another one just to get as much revenue back as they can, which isn't a good thing. But, if you made $150 million investment, you're going to be like, hey, I need to recoup what I can recoup. And that's just kind of my thoughts on that. But to wrap up, and then everyone could jump in about the killers. So I've said from day one, and I'm sticking to it, I really think Judy has involvement in some capacity. Yes, even on the trailer stuff, it looks like she might meet her end, but I really think we're going to get some sort of like fake death, like a Billy or like a Roman type thing where we think it's established, but it's really not. Plus, she's the only one with direct ties to 96 in this film. She's the only one that has direct connection. And yes, it's not the Sydney story, but they're getting dragged in. There's got to be a connection to the modern time as well as the past time. And so I really think Judy's going to play a part. And she could still be a part of it and end up dying. Maybe the new Ghostface kills her and it's revealed later on, like, hey, like, yeah, she was the one that got us started, but now this is my game or something like that, But anyway.
Yeah, good points, man. Man, it's good stuff. Yeah. So I think personally, I've been saying that I think it will make around the $100 million mark for the U.S. and Canada, North American sales in the box office because, and I think Faye touched on something. We saw it in the first Scream, right? And it didn't have anything like this either in terms of course there was no social media back at that point. But my point is, it's starting off already at such a fast pace with the marketing, and it's way ahead of any of the Scream films I can remember seeing because I was there for all of them when they came out in the theaters. So this is really, I think, getting them ahead of the curve. And Obsessed, you made a good point about would have been nice to have seen more of this sprinkled throughout the months. That is a good point. But I guess they decided to wait till September when they launched the big Airbnb thing. And now the pedal's to the metal with this 12 Days of Christmas. I mean, it's just every single day. So I said all that to say I do think it's going to hit about 100 million in the box office. It may be more. It depends on how it does, man. Because like you say, if this thing comes out and a week later, we're all making content saying, oh, what could have been. What could have been.
We will kill it.
Yeah, that's
yes.
That's it. Forget about it. Then maybe it makes 50, 60 tops, 40, like Scream 4 did in the US. But if on the other hand, if we're doing the opposite and we're really seeing how an amazing film this is, guys, then I think the sky's the limit because that word of mouth will spread like it did with Scream 1. It'll just catch fire, I believe. They're going to say, you got to come see this. I'll go watch it with you, that kind of thing. And then, boom, we have it. So I think we're going to be good for Scream 6. Now, what happens after that, I'm not going to even dare touch because we don't know who's involved. We don't know anything.
No.
So, and last thing for me, as far as a killer prediction, I don't really have one yet. I want to see this last trailer, the full-length trailer, to see if they give us any more little bit of clues that I might formulate. I will give an answer to that probably the week of the movie because I just don't have one. I mean, I think that there's some good theories out there, and we've talked about them on my channel. But I think Fate makes a good point, though. We should not dismiss, not the saying we are, but just in general, we shouldn't dismiss Judy Hicks' involvement potential because think about this. Who would know Sam's little secret, her family secret? Well, Judy was there with Sydney and Billy and Stu from day one. So maybe she has insight. And she's been in Woodsboro, right? So
she's the sheriff too.
And she's the sheriff now. So she has access to everything. So it's something to think about, I think.
Can I answer that actually about who would know Sam's secret?
Mm-hmm.
Her boyfriend or Tara's girlfriend?
Well,
or,
sure.
Tara's best friend. I mean,
right.
But
everyone's a suspect.
Right.
Exactly.
That's true. Everyone is a suspect.
Kind of how they wanted to make it do, right?
One more thing that I want to add to like the success of this upcoming film too. I really think January is going to be part of that because I know January has this like stigma of like great, but it has nothing to compete with. Like what is coming out in January that's going to be that significant?
I know just like week 4 of Spider-Man is the only thing it has to compete with.
But I think I mean I know what is it Morbius or whatever comes out either at like the end of January or like the beginning of February, something like that. But outside of that, it has like there's nothing like big blockbuster that is gonna take money away from Scream. I actually think it'll be a bonus, a benefit for its release date rather than a hindrance like people think it will be.
Yeah. I agree with that. I think that the fact that it's not going to have any big competition, especially horror wise, I think that bodes very well for it. But here's the only thing I'm worried about is just the state of theaters in the state of the pandemic. That's the only thing I worry about. And I just went to go see Spider-Man today. And although I knew I was going to do it, I was still looking around, just making sure that I was trying to be safe. So that's the only thing I'm concerned about. But borrowing that, taking that out of the equation, it doesn't have any big competition. And I think, like Steven said, and I've been around for the movies too, the hype is just so huge. And I think just similar to like Halloween, when Halloween came back 2018, there was just all this buzz, it's back, Jamie Lee Curtis is back. And I think that that's going to be similar with this movie. I think it could get upwards to $100 million North America. I really do. And I think people are hungry for it. I mean, everything points into that. If for some reason theaters have an issue or something like that, then that could definitely change. But if we take things on an even playing field, I think that it should do very, very well. And as far as a theory on a killer, I mean, I'm kind of with you too on that, Stephen. And there's so many ways that you can go. I mean, Vince is very suspect. There's a lot of the marketing that is, like, look at this guy, look at this, who's that guy? But we also know that they understand how we are as fans. They understand that there's going to be misdirection, as there always is in this franchise. So it's almost like, do I buy it, or do I say, no, they're just pointing too close to this particular character, trying to fool me? Which is funny, because we just talked about this, which sometimes is what they want us to think, but it actually is that person, like Billy in Scream, like, you know what I'm saying? Or Mickey in Part 2.
Yep.
So, but I love that. I love the question marks. But yeah, I don't, other than Vince, and I agree with you guys, Judy has always been so suspect to me. That's a possibility, but I do want to see that next trailer to get a little bit more of a definitive idea on who the killer is.
Yeah. I know we already kind of commented on this a little bit, but there are two things that worry me about the movie's performance, because I really have, beside like we've all said, the marketing has been phenomenal for this film. I have zero complaints. I remember back in August, I had said something like, if they have to promote this movie well, they didn't promote Scream 4 all that well, and look what happened with that film. They're doing everything perfectly with this film. The only two things I'm worried about are, of course, the January release date and the pandemic. And both of those things, I think I'm not worried about anymore. I mean, it has and like Fate was saying, it's not going to have any competition being a horror film in January. Like I said, I can't think of another one. Morbius, I guess, is arguably a horror film, but like the Marvel crowd is going to that, not the horror movie crowd.
Right. Yeah.
And I'm really not concerned about the pandemic keeping people, because I was in a crowded movie theater last night. I mean, like, every single seat, it was the first time since the pandemic started that I was in a theater where every single seat had someone sitting in it, and people were screaming, cheering. I'm not going to say why. No spoilers. Absolutely no spoilers.
That's fine.
Well, but I'm really not concerned about this movie underperforming because of any of those other things. I think it could do really well. I genuinely think it could hit 100 million. I think it's not going to be easy, but it could happen. I think overall, like, gross total or whatever, that could very well happen. And talking about who the killer is, I pretty much agree with everybody. Like, it's hard to say with everything we've been given. There's so much information out there that's leading us one way or the other. But I have to agree with Scream Obsessed here. I think Richie is for sure one of our ghost faces this time around. There's something. Jack Quaid is just too cute. He's got to be a killer, man.
When it ever worked out that one of them hasn't ended up dead or a killer or something, something. So.
Well, another thing for the pandemic, like, if it becomes a problem, the beauty is they can always throw it on Paramount Plus. Because right now it's supposed to be just exclusively in theaters. Like, let's say this new what is it, Omicron or whatever. Like, if that actually does become an issue, like, they can just easily put it up on on Paramount Plus, list it for like $20, and they'd probably still make $100 billion. I mean, you got people that
look at
saw it in theaters that would buy it again just to see it at home with their friends or family or whatever. So, I mean, I actually think that will happen regardless at some point. I think this movie will be out for a month or two, and then they'll put it on Paramount Plus. Because, I mean, why not double dip? Like, if you want to talk about just making money. Like,
well, right now it's scheduled to drop 45 days after. So it should hit on February. I mean, I don't have the calendar right in front of me. February 28th or March 1st. It was when it will be hitting Paramount Plus. That's what it's slated for. But I really do, just while you brought that up real quick, I really wish they would have gone the route of Halloween Kills and dropped it on the same day. And, some people really disagree with me. They think, no, you're taking away from sales. I can kind of see where they're coming from in one way, because you may get 10 people in your house versus going to see it in the movies with 10 tickets. So I get that math, but I also think that there are going to be that, even though I just said it's going to hit 100, and I believe that, there are going to be some folks who won't go to the theater. I mean, I know people now that will not step foot in the theater no matter what's showing. So for those people, it would have brought in, I believe, some additional income right at the beginning. But,
or you might have some people that'll do both because that's
Right.
what I did for Halloween
that's what I'll
Kills.
do, yeah.
Same,
That's the only reason I got Peacock is because
Yep.
you know.
Yeah.
They got you. The marketing
Hey,
worked.
it worked.
Ryan,
did.
you were gonna say something?
Well, I just, we've been talking a lot about Judy, and like, so back after Scream 4 came out, like back when I thought there would be a Scream 5 right after Scream 4, I was kind of like planning in my head, like, it would be so cool to have Judy Hicks be a killer because like she was in Scream 4 and survived, and it would be, for all the reasons you guys said. I really don't think she is going to be a killer this time. I think it seems to me that they're going to go a more heroic route with her. And also, something I've noticed, and a theory that I have about the new movie that no one has really talked about is, hypothetically, let's just say both Judy and Dewey die before the final act. And like, if you think about it, the ex-sheriff and the current sheriff are both dead. Like, do you like understand the impact of that, like on a cultural level? That may, and I feel like Sydney and Gail, especially Sydney in the marketing so far, she has had a very firm, like almost vigilante aspect to her where she's like, I'm going to take him down. Like, and I think that's almost before. We've never seen a Scream movie where the authority has been completely gutted, and it's literally up to Sydney and Gail to, be the people who stop this. You know what I mean? Like, there's always been that layer of protection, whether it's Mark Kincaid, whether it's Dewey himself, whether it's the sheriff in the first two movies. Like, I think that's a very cool thing that Scream could do.
Yeah. No, I like that idea.
I think when I say like Judy's involvement, I don't think she's running around killing people. I just think she's somebody like a mastermind. She's somebody that has always been in the know. Let's face it, Billy wasn't getting it from Sydney, so he was probably getting it from somewhere. And it's that whole like, hey, like, you're my girl, don't worry, I'm gonna do this. As soon as she's dead, you and me could be together. Billy dies, and now you're in this stand of like, what do I do? All the OG cast, they end up going away, and they don't really return till Scream 4. So who knows? And the time frame in which they're gone. I mean, Dewey's in Hollywood at one point. Sydney left Woodsboro, and she didn't come back really till Scream 4. All that stuff. And so I think that Judy's like in this place, but she has the knowledge, she has the know-how, and she's what else do I do? You get to become the cop, move up. She's gonna be sheriff. But Dewey comes back to town. Burke is like, hey, I want, I'm not going to give it to her over Dewey. So Dewey becomes the sheriff. Dewey retires. Now Judy's in a position of power. Her
do you guys think? Go ahead.
I was going to say her son is just old enough to, her son is finally in a position and old enough to actually enact these things, recruit other people, stuff like that. It's just somebody that's in the know, somebody that's in the that is being the sheriff, has the access to things, can sort of manipulate behind the scenes, stage crime scenes, do whatever she needs to do in order to enact her plan.
An accomplice.
Do you think they'll mention why Wes wasn't like talked about at all in 4, considering the age?
I don't think they need to. I don't think they need to, because think about it. We never saw Judy in her home life. It was always on the job, and Wes would have been, at that point, he would have been what, like 7 or 8? Yeah. So he would have been a kid at home, he would have been a little guy. So like, you don't need there doesn't really need to be an explanation, if that makes sense, because we never got to see her life. It's not like I think the one that needs explanation is Sydney. Like Sydney having a kid, I think that is something that is significant. That is something that is like impactful, not only for this film, but like the franchise going forward. Because in 15 years, you could do an entire trilogy centered around her children, and all of us have gray beards and stuff going, yes.
And they will.
12.
I think they will too. I really do. I think they will too. I kind of wish that they would have done that in Scream 4, because at this point, like, established that she had children. Like, because the original plan was Kincaid and her were going to be married, but they couldn't get Patrick Dempsey because of contract obligations. But it would have been great if they would have established that, and then they were actually together. They had a kid, and it was a child, because by now they would be essentially the high school kids' age, and you could have had that kind of be the center, which I think would have been cool. But hindsight's always 20/20, right?
Isn't there something refreshing about having the Carpenters and like their own
absolutely
thing? I kind of like that Sydney isn't really related to them, or that we know of right now. I think that gives the story a lot of freshness. And I think actually, if Paramount does have this grand scheme to bring Sydney's children into their own trilogy in 15 years. I actually think that's a clever way to space it out and give life, without making it seem like Sydney's just being pounded into the ground.
Yeah,
that's true.
And wouldn't it be great, in the future to have another Prescott? Wouldn't that be so awesome? Like all the nostalgia we have of remembering Sydney, and
absolutely,
that'd be really cool. Yeah.
What if they turn out to be the killer?
Ouch!
Talk about a full circle moment.
That would be crazy,
dude. I mean, I think they made a mention in almost like maybe every Scream movie, but like every other movie, every one of these films where they're like, "Oh, could Sydney be the killer?" And they're making fun of themselves. No, that's never gonna happen. That's my point. Like they literally make fun of themselves. They're like, because I think they're making fun of the fans who are saying like, "Oh, Sydney could be the killer," but like, dude, they're never gonna do that. That would
you just crushed like 50 people's hopes right now. So.
Exactly. Yes.
But Radio Silence has said right since day one that they want to honor Wes Craven and how they do this film. How would you most dishonor Wes Craven? Yeah, turning his final girl into a killer.
And he absolutely loved the character of Sidney Prescott.
Yes, he
loved
did.
Neve Campbell. I mean, so there's no way. There's just no way.
And something we have to remind people, I think we as content creators and people who talk about these movies, if one of the trio goes, we need to try to rationalize it for them and not make it seem like, not go to that emotional place. We need to think about it logically. Like, for instance, if Dewey does die, which I do think he's going to, we have to remind everybody, like, just think about what this does for the story and for the characters. He is the one thing that Sydney and Gale have in common, that Woodsboro, the town, has in common. You know what I mean? And to take him out of this story, that just has a domino effect. That pushes the story forward naturally. It's a good, healthy thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think to combine you and sort of what Craven was saying, I think people yes, they want to honor Wes, but I think people are looking into that too much. And I've tried to establish that on my channel. Like I've told people, it's like what they mean by that is creating a film that Wes would be proud of. That doesn't mean necessarily that they're not going to tell their own story or they're not going to do what they need to do in order to fit their narrative and to move forward. I mean, not obviously they're not going to try to go too extreme, like a Sydney being Ghostface or anything like that. But I think people look at it as like, I see it all the time, like in my comment section and stuff, people are like, "Oh, they can't do that because Wes wouldn't have done that." Like, how do you know? Like, how do you know Wes didn't have plans for that in 5? Or, or that, you're just going off of the past. Eventually, I mean, if you really want to be fair, they had plans to kill Sydney in pretty much every film at some point. It never would have, I don't think it ever would have came to fruition, but they talked about it. Like, so clearly they were okay with that idea, at least. I mean, Scream 4's opening scene was supposed to leave us believing that Sydney was dead. I mean, it's not, I don't think they're going to kill Sydney. That's not what I mean. But I'm just saying, like, we need to take it, like, I feel like people are latching on to this is for Wes in a way, like, to the extreme rather than like, what it is. And Ryan's right. Like, we as creators, we need to sort of let cooler heads prevail and sort of, be the ones to lead the like, hey, like, I get it. Like, nobody wants to see these OG3 die. Like, we all are fans of them. We've grown with them. The character development has been unbelievable, as Knight was saying earlier. I mean, Gale, in my opinion, has had the most character development out of all of them. I mean, just think of her origin from being this selfish, that like she would cut somebody's throat if it meant, her success, to being essentially a housewife for Dewey in Woodsboro where she hates and just trying to conform to just for that. I mean, that's an amazing arc, amazing character. And so, I mean, all of us want these characters to survive, but at some point we're in a horror franchise. Some of these characters have to go. Not every character. I mean, the fact that all 3 of them have survived all these films is completely unprecedented, So
yes.
Let me just add as well that I appreciate the fact that this is like one of the only horror franchises that we can say has continuity of some sorts. All the OG characters have came back for each film. So I'm just appreciative over the fact that we got the OG trio back, and of course Judy, and just the little nitpick surprises that they have for us. Like, that in itself, I appreciate that so much. And I mean, for Halloween, Halloween Kills or whatnot, they brought, Jamie Lee Curtis back, and that was great. But Homegirl at one point didn't even want anything to do with it. Neve Campbell, Courtney Cox, and David Arquette have always been on board whenever it comes to doing one of these films, and I'm just ecstatic that they were able to say yes and give us another Scream film. I'm forever thankful for that.
Yeah.
Well,
I agree.
I have a question for everybody, just because I'm curious, because this is just the stuff that goes on in my mind all day long. Who do you guys each prefer, or who are you more interested in right now in terms of the Carpenters? Because we don't even know. But there's rumors, and there's a rumor that Sam is the lead of this movie. But that doesn't mean she's going to be the lead of the next movie. It could be Tara if Tara survives the. So which Carpenter are you more interested in? Because I'm definitely more interested in Sam right now. Like weirdly, I did not like Tara's scenes in the trailer. For some reason, it didn't click for me the way that everything else did. And I have fallen so madly in love with Melissa Barrera. I thought she was sensational in The Heights. I listened to her song in The Heights literally every single day as I'm walking to class. And I just think Sam is going to be such an interesting, dark character, which is something I always liked about Sydney. I liked Sydney's darkness. I liked the fact that she had these like really traumatic emotions she worked through in 2 and 3 especially. And I really think Sam is going to be like that. So I'm Team Sam right now. But
I'm hoping that Sam's. I mean, it goes back to one of the first things we talked about. And my worry for it really is the cast, whoever lives, because obviously with Dewey, Gale, Sydney, whoever does live, you're safe with in terms of like quality. But as you guys talked about, right, anybody who lives after that, just brand new. While yes, this does seem like the best group. I mean, I'm not. I feel like I'm maybe the most negative of all of this group. I'm definitely into it. I mean, I'm into it a ton, but I'm not going in expecting everybody to blow me away. And especially, like if Sam lives, I just pray to God that she's good, because I think Fate said it too earlier. Because if she's not good, I think it kills the franchise. I don't think it like sets them up in a bad situation for 6. I think it ends it. Because then you have to go back to Neve and say, can you do it again? And I've already done it twice. So I really think and I guess Tara too, right? If you do it with Sam and Tara, they need to just be good characters. And I think Sam's like mental problems definitely are interesting enough to get people going. I think both of them will live, so they'll have the option of both. So but I definitely prefer Sam, just because Tara, I truly just don't believe is going to be in it all that much. I think she'll be reserved to the hospital for like 80%.
Yeah.
I'm definitely just gonna say I'm Team Sam. Team Sam.
I'm Team Sam as well.
Yeah.
I mean, you just get a sense that she's going to be an interesting character, and like you guys had said, that dark angle, like it's alluring because you can do so much with it. You can really have a lot of freshness to the story, and I'm really excited to see how far they go with that, because that in and of itself is something that is really, really nice to see in the franchise. 5 films. I mean, you have to break new ground, and this is definitely one way.
Well, and even so, they could still have, like, let's just say both of them do survive and they go on to both be the leads of Scream 6 and 7. They could really set up a whole backstory storyline like they did with Maureen Prescott with this relationship between the 2 sisters. I think that's actually a really unique way to go about it, when Scream 1 to 3 was just about Sydney. I mean, sure, Gail and Dewey were also co-leads by the end, but it was Sydney's story. This could be a story about their relationship, their family past. And that's something different. And I think that's good.
I think that's cool too. One thing that I do want to say about the mental health, I'm actually really curious to see like how in depth they go about it. Primarily because like we're in such like a touchy society, like, you know what I mean? Like when it comes to that stuff. And like I'm curious to see how much they go in depth, because we've seen films even recently just get killed for kind of going into that too much. And I also, the other thing, I find it interesting because that's something they really wanted to hit home on in Scream 3 originally, but they wanted to dive more and explore more of Neve's mental space. Like we saw it a little bit in Scream 3, but they really wanted to establish that more. And I always was curious, like what direction would they go with that? Like how would they touch on that? Like obviously she has PTSD and all kinds of stuff. I mean, you just go through that as many times she's gone. She's got to have some demons up in her head, So I'm curious to see how much they touch on the Sam mental state, but as well as just like in general, like will it have effect? Like, will we have the nightmare scenes that we really think we're gonna? Are we gonna actually see like her hallucinating, things like that? I think, and then kind of to touch on Tara and stuff, like I really think that they are establishing Sam again as the final girl for a reason. Like, so that way we take it in, we understand, boom, this is who it is. And then we already have, like, we're already pre-programmed. And then that carries over to 5. But like Ryan was saying in Scream 6, like you could get like, you know, the sisters sort of being the 1A, 1B story, because we already got like the Sam secret, the family secret. And now it's just them being targets for whatever reason. Or also, like, if Tara survives, who knows? Maybe that's the big surprise in Scream 6, where Sam was the final girl in 5. She carried over the torch. And if there is enough, you know, sort of hype around Tara as well, you know, maybe they, you know, that's the death, the Cotton death, you know, or the Randy death, you know, where it's just like, what? Like, you know, like, how did that happen?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for me, I'm definitely on the Sam boat as well with you guys, because I love what there's a couple things that I want to touch on. The first one was I love how even in the little trailers that we have, the little 2.5-3 minutes total, you can see how they're setting her up to have some of those same Sydney characteristics, like when they go to Dewey's trailer. And they're like, you know, we want you to help me. I want to protect my family. Oh my gosh, that gave me Sid vibes, like big time. You know, because Sydney is that protector. She's a fighter. So you can see that Sam looks like she is also pretty fearless. She's also, while she may be afraid, like, of course, being attacked and all that, but she has that part of her that's not backing down. You know, she's not cowering. She's actually going for help to be on the attack, which reminds me a lot of Sydney, which is huge for her character arc. And I hope that that's what we end up seeing throughout the whole movie. I think we will. We know at the end, we see that one scene where she's got the knife up in Stu's house by the front door, and she's coming down on somebody like with vengeance. And so it looks like she's going to have a lot of that similarity. You know, I think that's really great. And the second thing is, as Fate touched on the mental health aspect, or more than him, everybody has pretty much. But you remember in that last, I can't even say the last, there's been so many featurettes, but one of the last couple of featurettes ago, there was a scene in the break room of the hospital where she's at the sink getting a water, and she looks in the mirror and there's a ghost face mask there, and she turns and it's gone. So that was our first, I think, indication finally that our suspicions are true, that she is seeing some hallucinations. She's seeing things in her head. And I think that's the first final real clue we have that took it off of theory and said, okay, they are going to go this direction. So there's going to be times where we don't know as a viewer if what we're seeing is actually happening at the moment that we're seeing it. And so I'm real curious to see as well how that unfolds, because if you have those kind of scenes, you can do a lot of things that bend outside of the rules, because it is a hallucination. It is a dream. There's no rules in a dream. So you can do a lot of stuff that you couldn't get away with in a real type setting if it was, you know, if she was fully cognizant. So I'm very excited to see what they do there. Or I shouldn't say excited, but I do look forward to seeing how they go down that path. And to your point, Faye, hopefully they do it. And I think Jake's touched on it before. Do it in a tasteful way. You know, you don't have to make her look like, you know, anything super crazy, but you know, we all have things we deal with. So
I just don't want them to confuse the audience. You know what I mean? I don't want it to be like we're so much in her head and like what's real, what's not.
You can overdo it. You can totally overdo something like that.
A little
Jake,
subtlety.
you gonna break it? Or Jake, which team are you?
Well, we're all talking about. Look, Sam is the one I'm probably the most interested in, because we know more about her, and of course this thing about her mental health is so interesting. But I'm going to talk about Tara because no one else talked about Tara.
Let's go, Jake.
So,
go against the grain.
I hate to be the contrarian, but we're going to talk about Tara. We don't know too much about Tara at this point. I mean, besides her character description, I mean, we know that she's in a relationship with someone else, and Amber is her ex-girlfriend, I believe. If I'm,
or at least they had broken up, right? Yeah,
they had broken up.
Definitely broken up.
Now they're texting at the beginning of this trailer. So my question is, like, is she still with this girl this Frances girl, I believe is her name, that is like her new girlfriend, or like what the case is with that? I'm not 100% like certain. I feel like there's something we don't know. There's something that's out of context that I feel like when we actually see the movie, it's going to make a lot of sense and could maybe see why maybe Amber could be the killer. Another thing I want to say about Tara is I love Jenna Ortega. Like, she is just phenomenal in everything I have seen her in. I don't know if you guys have watched You. I believe she's in that show. She's phenomenal in that. She's also in like the Babysitter sequel movie. So I hope she has some screen time, because like you were saying, Alex, earlier, like I don't think she's gonna have a lot of screen time. I really love she's a phenomenal actress. Same with Melissa Barrera. I know we were just talking about In the Heights. She was Ryan, I love that musical. Lin-Manuel Miranda, he's phenomenal. Anything he does, I will literally watch. I don't care what it's about. I love the cast and crew of this whole movie as well. But I think Tara is going to be interesting to see what actually happens with her, if this misdirection of her like just getting attacked in the opening, like what is her role going to be in this film if she's just like kind of bedridden, like Laurie Strode Halloween 2? Like, is that going to be the route that we take, where she's just kind of like, I hope not. Like that's my thing. It's like Laurie Strode didn't do anything in that movie, and that's such a shame.
She's gonna like try to help or something, because like there's gonna be the hospital thing is a big point of emphasis. But then after that, I don't know, because that's the same thing I've talked about with like Wes. I mean, I do think the trailer has so much misdirect, but and I agree with people that say like you can't theorize too much, but you really can, because one of the first things I ever said is, like, I said Chad's totally gonna die. Like, I picked some people. People said, well, you can't tell based on the trailer, and it's like, but if you watch a Scream movie, 4 people make it each one. So like you have a group of 12, you're gonna lose 75. Like you can say that. And for somebody like Wes, you can tell based on what they've shown. It doesn't seem like they've shown him at all past like 30% into the movie. Now that could be hidden, but I feel like they've done that for a couple characters. You know what I mean? So I do think there's things you can read into this stuff.
Yeah, speculation is the fun of Scream. I mean, that's what it's all about, right? Like theorizing, just going down these rabbit holes that, I mean, obviously you want to be within reason and make some sense, but like that's what
So you're telling me Billy's not back from the dead? Is that what you're saying?
They're bringing everyone back. You didn't hear? It's going to be a new nightmare where everyone's
all alive.
Yeah, they're all alive in New Nightmare style.
No, but like you're right. Like we know all the tricks with Scream, like especially people who've watched these movies over and over and over again. We know the structure, we know the kind of tricks that they play. Like, so we can kind of make educated guesses. So I'm not somebody who believes like in the conspiracy theory that they shot all of this specific footage specifically,
or that's
for
all Stab 8 or something, like the entire movie is a movie.
They're not going, like, first of all, they're not going to waste the money and resources in filming a bunch of excess crap. You know what I mean? Just for the purpose of throwing off the fans. Like, at least they may do a little bit of that, but they're not going to expend a lot of resources on there. So we have to keep it in perspective here. I think some people just don't want to hear some of the realities that we have seen in the trailers and such.
Yeah, which I mean, it's fine. And really, it goes to I said it too when it first came out. Like, we are in a bubble. And that's apparent when we talk about like box office and the fandom, which I mean, it's an incredible fandom, but we are in a bubble. You know what I mean? This doesn't have the Spider-Man reach or something like that. But, and even for the trailer, like we do look at it more, but that's kind of that gray area that I've talked about too. It's like we do look at the trailer more than most. But I do think, I personally feel like they've shown too much in the trailer. Some people agree, some don't. But and I think you can tell that even based off of the first one. I don't know. You can definitely tell it based off of all the TV spots and stuff. But even based off the first trailer, I feel like they gave stuff away. But it is what it is.
You got to keep in mind, context is everything too, though. You know, I mean, you can make any picture you want in a quick 1-second clip. You know, for all we know, half of the stuff in there is the fan-made stab or something like that. You know,
but that goes back to what I said. Like, but you can make it. But like by saying Chad's gonna die, and you'll say, well, you can't tell that based off a trailer. Well, you can predict though. You're gonna lose 8 of 12. Like you can say that for sure.
Absolutely.
And there's no nice way out of it. But the only nice way out of it is showing one trailer, very little shown. I don't even know how you do it, and then no marketing, no TV spots. That's it. Because that's the only way you can get away with. It's just by showing Chad running. I don't know why I'm using him so much, but Chad running with Ghostface, like you immediately show something. You know, I mean, it's odd to even say. You know, I mean, you show something that if you didn't show it, you wouldn't. You know what I mean?
You wouldn't think about it.
It wouldn't be in your head. So now it is.
Yeah. I don't think we should be so. One thing, again, I think
I'm Mr. Negative. Can I throw that out there?
Our fandom is incredible. Like, it really is. Like, I have 2 criticisms of our fandom, but otherwise I think it is like beautiful. Okay. But one of them is this obsession with spoilers, and I get it on some of like I get everyone wants to have a fun time at the movies and like to experience this for the first time. But like what you just said about the marketing, if they didn't put some effort into the trailer, it would be a flop because no one would be enticed to go see it.
Right.
Like if you don't want to see the marketing, don't go looking for it. Simple
And
as
one
that.
thing that I kind of just want to add to what Ryan just said is one thing that I'll see, especially online, it's usually the same people who will download that trailer and get every screen grab from it and then complain, wow, I was spoiled by something. Obviously, if you're sitting there looking at your screen for 10 minutes trying to be like, what is that in the background? Of course you're going to spoil yourself,
Yes.
But then again, we do have people out there who do, like look at our content or whatnot and who do want to go in blind. And I totally respect that. I do feel like that people do need to respect other people's theatrical experiences. But at the same time, we're, in 2021, a lot of people know how social media works. And unfortunately, closer to release, a lot more people are going to talk. There's going to be a bunch of jerks who, if they find out information that ends up being legit, especially when closer to release, there's gonna be more screenings that are happening. People are gonna try to jump on Reddit, be the first on
a dangerous
YouTube,
place
and
online.
oh yeah, it's gonna be toxic.
Yep.
It's gonna be a vacation from hell. That is all I can say. But at this point, it's kind of expected. But I mean, most people should know that if you don't want to be spoiled, don't go looking for it. Basically.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, people should be used to that. I mean, we've seen that time and time again with big blockbuster movies, not even just in horror. We've seen it with Marvel
Spider-Man
movies.
is the biggest one.
Yeah. I mean, right? Yeah. I mean, I stayed away from stuff because I knew I wasn't going to see it until today. So
And it's our job as content creators to keep to take the toxic stuff and make it positive and make this an enjoyable thing.
Absolutely.
Because like we've all kind of alluded to, we don't know if this is going to be the first of many new movies or if this is going to be the last movie we get for a long time. We need to keep it positive and really have people enjoy the experience of this new movie, going to see it and just living it with the fans and reacting to it. And on that note, I don't mean to spoil the fun, but I do have to get going.
Yeah, you're okay. But you want to plug anything? I mean, I have your link, but just go ahead and plug.
Well, okay. So follow me on Twitter at Scream with RCS, and I have a new podcast every single Tuesday about Scream. It's like exclusively related to Scream, the characters, story, themes, anticipation for the new movie. I'm on Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, Audible, and the Earglue Media website. So please check me out. And I interact with me on Twitter. I love interactions. So yeah. Thank you guys for having me. It's Scream with Ryan C. Showers.
Yeah. Nice to meet you too.
On Twitter.
Nice meeting you, Ryan.
All right.
Nice meeting you.
Thank you guys.
Then there were 6. See, we're losing people just like in the movie.
It's like a Scream movie.
Who was going to be the funny guy?
Well, one thing I do want to throw. I mean, we will wrap it up for those watching. We'll wrap it up in another like 10, 15 minutes. Speaking of the past, I just wanted to get it. Is we've all talked about it, but I'm pretty sure every single person has mentioned it. I do want to get your thoughts on. Let's do not just Stu, because I kind of want to frame it differently. Do you think there's going to be a surprise in the film? And I guess that can come in the way of like a death or somebody living that you would expect to die, or bringing back a Billy in a hallucination or something like that. So do you expect any of that kind of stuff?
Okay, kindly rephrase that, because what do you mean by like being shocked? Just like in general, like what's gonna shock us? Or
like do you have like a go-to theory that you're very confident in that? So for me, I do think Billy will be in it. Like I think we'll see him. Stu, I was so certain of at a certain point in my life, and now I'm really not as certain. But Billy, I feel with hallucinations, especially if Sam is related in any way. I'm not doing the whole she's Sydney's daughter or something stupid like. But if there's any relation to Billy from Sam with hallucinations, it makes a lot of sense. She would have known. You know what I mean?
I could definitely see that, being like one of the routes, because one thing that I loved in Scream 3 is whenever Sydney was, on the stab set, she was in her bedroom, she was hearing, Billy and Stu's voices. And I really feel like that, just based off of the information back whenever they first started filming and they had made like their initial announcements, Ski Ulrich was tagged in some things, and they were very quick to remove it too. But you know what? We were fast and we got screenshots, so it's fine. But just going back to like the entire main point is, I do believe that they will do the audible, like hearing voices type thing. I mean, if they do a flashback and he is somehow involved, I will be shook. But one thing that I will say is, a couple months ago, I think at this point, Rose McGowan had stated that the
Yes.
Scream
That's how-
team
yeah.
had, reached
Yep.
out to her, and they were just, it could be just audio dialogue that's from, the previous film, and it could go one of two ways. I mean, if he pops up in there, I'll be shocked like y'all. My jaw will be on the floor. But I don't really necessarily seeing that being the option. More of just like an audible sense in a way.
Definitely.
Yeah, I think it's definitely going to be something that's shocking. Definitely at least the audible thing, because I was going to mention it too, just like Obsessed did, that Rose McGowan let the cat out of the bag, and yes, we were quick enough to figure that out.
Right.
As far as actually, seeing a flashback or whatever, I think that's possible. I mean, it would make sense. I mean, we're at Stu's house, so that would actually make some sense. Actually seeing Billy, I don't think that's going to happen, obviously, in my opinion. And as far as Stu, Steven, I'm telling you, I'm thinking about you. But it would be fun in the sense of like, wow, they really went there. But I don't think it'll happen. It's possible, but I don't think it'll happen. If anything, it might be an alluded to, or maybe something that's audible, or maybe a clue that points in a direction where you're like, oh my God, they're talking about Stu. So, but I think there's going to be some shocking stuff in this movie. I think that has to have some shocking stuff, because everything is talking about the past.
Yeah.
I honestly, just throw out there, like, I expect nothing less than to be shocked. I want to feel almost every emotion in my entire being. Like, if I'm at the end of this movie, if I'm not upset about someone dying, or just like positively like upset, like if I'm not feeling almost every emotion, then they did a job.
Yeah.
And so far with every Scream film, like you go through a whole entire roller coaster of emotion. So like that's something that I really, I feel like that they'll deliver on for sure.
Yeah.
I think that I think that if we do see any of these characters back, like I don't know if you guys saw that picture of Skeet Ulrich, and he's like sitting in front of that painting that Melissa Barrera was sitting in front of, or whatever, when she was like on set filming in Wilmington or whatever. I want it, like, I think it would be so cool if like maybe he was like a hallucination, like maybe she like sees Billy running towards her, or
and
something,
they
in
like
the ghost face
de-age him or something.
Sure, like just for a quick scene or something, and then like she looks over and nothing's there. I like if they wanted to do that, with Matthew Lillard as well, just to have like one quick scene with both of them as Billy and Stu again. I'd be fine. I would be fine with that. I think it would be kind of cool, like a cool little homage to the original film where it all began. I just don't think that, like Stu, for example, I just don't think you would survive a massive TV hitting your head. Steven, I'm so sorry, man.
Who's
Judas Kiss, baby. Judas Kiss.
I just saw, like, the whole time I'm saying that, I just see his face sink.
Oh, no.
I feel so bad.
I've seen a couple comments in the chat that are like fake Craven. Like, let's go.
No.
That's great.
Ding, ding, ding.
The showdown, round 2. No,
because I know you guys had talked about it too. You did your debate.
Yeah, we had a big
big
debate about it.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. I mean, I love the, but like I think Nightwatch said, like it would be like you'd have to go there, and you'd really have to go there, and that would just be very counterproductive, I think, to what it seems like the movie's doing.
Well, I'll just say, since we're already alluding to it, I'll throw it out there. I'll keep it much shorter than our debate we had, Fate and I had, for fun. But here's the thing. I'm going to set it up like this. What do I want? I want Stu to be the mastermind behind the movie. I'm going to put it out there right now. That's what I want. I want him to be involved, and maybe even revealed at the very end, and that he, I could go into the whole reason why, but if you want to see that, it's on our channel. You can watch it. I won't do that here. But what I would love to see is that happen. Now, do I really think that's going to happen? I see no indication that that's going to happen. I hope it does, and I'm going to hold on hope to the last second when the previews are going, I'm still holding hope that it's going to happen. But here's what I think was more likely, and we've already touched on it. I think that with the mental health aspect now opened up with Melissa Barrera's character, Sam, I believe now the door is open where we can see or hear him again. I do think that's going to happen. I expect that we'll see. Look, if you're going to have Rose McGowan and Billy, why wouldn't you not have Stu? Yeah. As huge as he was as to the story. So I do think we are going to hear his voice. And maybe, just maybe, Jake, maybe we see him. It's not going to be really happening, but for Sam, it will be happening. We'll see them together one last time in the movie. That would make me, if we got that little bit of fan service for like 10 seconds, I mean, it would make my day. All right, I will take that. But I do think he is going to show up. But will it be literally showing up? I probably not, but I hope so. And until that movie has the very last second where the credits are rolling, heck with that. Until the last credit rolls and the house lights come on, I'm holding out hope that Stu will pop up somewhere in this movie. So we shall see. So Stu Nation, don't forsake me. Don't forsake Stu, baby. Hashtag Stu is alive. So, hashtag bring him back.
So we're going to wrap it up. I'm going to let all of you guys go in terms of plugging your stuff. I guess I'll wrap it up at the very end again, but I firstly just want to say thank you to, you five. Thank you to Ryan, obviously. Thank you to the crowd watching. You guys rock. And we have an amazing community that I think is amplified by us being able to even do this, getting together. So if you guys want to go, one by one, plug your stuff. A lot of their description, or in my description, guys, their stuff is already there. So you just have to click. But if you guys want to just shout yourselves out.
Thank you so much, everyone, for having me. I really do appreciate talking Scream with you guys, and I absolutely cannot wait for this film to be out, so that way we can dive right into every aspect of this. But you guys can give me a follow on Twitter at Scream_obsessed, and until then, I hope you guys enjoy the rest of this PR campaign that we have for Scream, and go ahead and buy your tickets. Go get them. I swear, if you're sitting there waiting and not buying your tickets, what are you doing with your life?
That is so true. I definitely want to thank you guys for letting me be a part of this. I absolutely enjoy just having discussions, especially live. And when you've got a live chat and they're excited, we're excited. This community is amazing. And I continue to find new people that I connect with that I really enjoy talking with. And obviously tonight is evidence of that. But you can find me on YouTube at the Night Watch Zone. And, I personally do a lot of live streaming myself, and I really like communicating with viewers. I also very lucky with, Fate and with Jake and with Steven, connecting with other creators and joining them, and sometimes having them join me. And it's just been a wonderful time. I've been on YouTube now for just a little, like a year and a month, and it's been so much fun. So again, thank you guys so much for having me.
Alex, I just want to say thank you so much. This has been so much fun to just talk Scream with it's awesome to talk with the Lethal Collective. You guys are great, but Scream Obsessed, Alex, it's been just a pleasure talking to you guys. Just some fresh face on the YouTube YouTube board talking Scream. If you guys want to check. I'm so sorry. What's up?
Oh no, you're fine. It's just the ADHD in me. I really love the fact that we're all from different, parts of social media or whatnot, but it's the fandom that, comes together as whole, at the beginning of this PR campaign versus where we are now, just a few weeks from the release of the film. I'm pretty sure I can speak for a lot of the fans in the fandom, with everybody interacting with each other, how social media is. It's just great to, like you said, speak with other Scream fans, get to know each other, and just share that love that, maybe, and some people live in small country towns, they don't get that opportunity. So being able to do this is even an honor. And I just, I welcome all the love and the positivity that the fandom, gives out to one another. And I just encourage everybody else to continue to do that as well, which is what's going on, right now. But, I love this kind of setting. It's great.
Oh, I 100% agree, man. I wanted to say, it's been a pleasure talking to you, man. And hearing different opinions too. You learn stuff. You learn stuff you never would have even thought about it.
We're not all the same, although we cover some of the same stuff. We're definitely different. So
we all have different takes on the same stuff. It's great. But if you want to check out my page, just go look up Killjoy Jake. I cover mostly Scream, but I talk about just horror movies in general. Look me up on YouTube. I'm almost at 7,000 subscribers. That'd be really cool. If we could get there before the end of the year, thank you. Killjoy Jake 1 on Twitter, Killjoy_Jake on Instagram. Follow me. That would be sick.
Well, yeah. So I mean, obviously, we've all said it. It's amazing that collective minds in different spaces and can come together and just have a genuine fun conversation. I mean, I'm sure all of our audiences, because we all are in the same space, so a lot of our audiences are the same, whether we realize it or not. And I just look at it as like from like that perspective. Like I would love to see something like this, and the fact that I get to be a part of this is what a position to be in. You know what I mean? Like it's such a it's incredible, like what with social media and just being able to create a platform in which we can express and talk and communicate and have these chats. It truly is. It's a privilege and an honor, and I'm very thankful to be in this position. And thank you, Alex. Thank you for putting this together for all of us. And as far as like me, Fate Decided, pretty simple on YouTube. I have Scream videos every day. It kind of evolved into a Scream channel. It didn't start like that. Just posted one video and it spiraled out of control, and now here we are. And
tends to be how it goes.
And it's awesome. I love it. I'm beyond thankful. It's my favorite horror franchise. So who would complain about being able to talk about something that you love and enjoy and just get to share with others. So but yeah, Fate Decided on YouTube. I need to get more active on social media, especially Twitter and stuff, especially because all these people are on Twitter. I started it and I haven't even really promoted it or nothing. I think I have like 10 followers. So all of my other social media is at Fate Decided YT. So if you look that up, you'll find it on any platform, and I have all of them. So there you go.
Very good.
Rock on. Well, Alex, I'll start by saying thank you as well, man. This was a real honor to be a part of this group tonight. It was such an enjoyable time. And man, sometimes as creators, I think we sometimes maybe feel like we are creating content on an island, and we're kind of like we're in our own heads and our own ideas. And we don't realize it sometimes, but we're not. We are actually in a collective here. We're in a family. We're in a community together, and that there are other creators like ourselves that we're in the same place. We're enjoying the same things, and to come together and share these ideas and share that positiveness, it's so wonderful, man, because there's so much toxic garbage out there, and we don't need any more of that, man. We need us coming together, and I love it because there's no competition in this. No one's competing with one another. We support one another. We encourage one another, and so I really think this is an amazing event you organized. I know it's not easy to pull all this together logistically, so thank you for allowing me to be a part of it. And for those who are watching, Craving Something Scary, you'll find me on YouTube. I have also social media, Instagram, Twitter, all that. But if you just go to my YouTube channel. And if you forget how to get there, just put in cravensomething.scary.com. It'll route you right to my YouTube channel, and you'll find all the links to social media there. But I try to post a Scream video as well every day, and just about every day now. And so if you're into Scream, and if you're here, then I know you are. I used to have a hunch you are. Then come by and check it out. See what you think. We have a good time, and I love engaging with all of you in the chat. So thanks again, guys.
Yeah. Well, thank you all so much for being here. There was more people, and Beyond the Mask is something I think a lot of us have interacted with as well. He's an amazing guy. Critical Overlord has been here, I think, a very long time in terms of how long he's covered it. So there's a lot of Zach Cherry, obviously kind of popularized Scream on YouTube. So an amazing group that's here. You guys all rock. You all do amazing content. Everybody else that didn't make it, and some of them just couldn't make it, like in general. Like I did invite, and they were up for it. So I know I saw in the comments doing it again. We can definitely try to organize something. I think a lot of us, like we talked about, do things with each other, kind of just collaborations all over. So there'll be stuff leading into, Scream 5, and I'm sure afterwards, but we should try to do it again, and, we'll work to do it. So thank you, absolutely. U5. Thanks to Ryan. Thanks to the chat. And we'll see you all on all of our next videos or Scream Obsessed, all this Twitter. Again, amazing.
Yes.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Bye,
Thank you.